Captain Dae Kim stood on the bridge of Horizon 1, staring at the massive screen before him. The message had arrived 10 minutes ago, and he had already watched it 3 times. Each time, the words felt heavier. The Galactic Council had finally made their move. The face on the screen belonged to Crystallith. The Council Elder. Its crystalline body reflected light in strange patterns, making it difficult to look at directly. The translator converted its sounds into words that Day could understand, but the tone needed no translation. It was cold, absolute, and final. Humanity has grown too fast, Crystallith said. You have spread to 40 systems in less than 200 years. You build ships at rates that concern us. You develop weapons without permission. The Council has voted. Earth must submit to our authority within 30 days. You will reduce your fleet by 80%. You will accept our governors on every colony. You will stop all military research. This is not a request. This is the law of civilized space. Day closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He had known this day would come. Everyone in the Earth Defense Force had known. The Council had been watching humanity for 40 years, ever since humans first left their solar system and encountered alien life. At first, the Council had seemed welcoming. They offered technology, trade agreements, and guidance. But slowly, things changed. The Council wanted to control everything. They decided which species could grow and which could not. They chose who got resources and who went without. Humans did not fit into their plans. Humans asked too many questions. They moved too fast. They refused to wait for permission. Day pressed a button on his console. Send a priority message to Earth Command. Tell Admiral Soong Cho the Council has issued their ultimatum. We need immediate orders. The communication officer nodded and began typing. Day walked to the observation window and looked down at Earth below. The blue planet turned slowly, peaceful and beautiful. Billions of people lived there, unaware that in 30 days, everything might change forever. Across the solar system, Ambassador Hannah Park was already preparing for her journey. She had received the same message and knew what she had to do. Within hours, she boarded a fast diplomatic ship and headed toward Convergence Point, the massive neutral station where the Council met. The journey took 5 days. Hannah spent every moment studying reports, reviewing diplomatic strategies, and preparing her arguments. She knew it would probably not matter. The Council had already decided, but she had to try anyway. That was what humans did. They tried Dot when her ship docked at Convergence Point. Hannah was escorted through corridors filled with alien species she had studied but rarely met in person. The Velthir moved like living statues of glass. The Korathi moved as one, thousands of small bodies thinking as a single mind. The Xylene floated in special chambers, ancient beings that rarely spoke anymore. The Council chamber was enormous. 12 seats arranged in a circle, each one occupied by a representative of an elder species. Hannah walked to the center, where a small platform waited for her. She felt very small. That was the point. The Council wanted everyone to feel small. Ambassador Park, Crystallith said from its seat high above her. You have come to respond to our mandate. I have, Hannah said. She kept her voice steady and strong. Earth rejects your terms. We request equal representation in the Council and the right to govern ourselves. A sound like ice cracking filled the chamber. The Velthir were laughing. Other species joined in, each making their own version of mockery. Your species appeared in space yesterday, by our measure, one of the Korathi said through its speaker system. You have no right to equality with civilizations millions of years old. We have built 40 thriving colonies, Hannah replied. We have developed technology that rivals yours. We have proven ourselves capable of. That is precisely the problem. Crystallith interrupted. You grow too fast. You consume resources without wisdom. Your population increases without restraint. If left unchecked, humanity will become a danger to the entire galaxy. We have seen it before with younger species. We know how this story ends. Then why not help us learn? Hannah asked. Why not guide us instead of controlling us? We are helping you, another council member said. By limiting your expansion, we protect you from yourselves. This is mercy. Hannah felt anger rising in her chest, but she pushed it down. Getting emotional would not help. And if we refuse? The chamber went silent. Crystallith leaned forward, its crystalline body catching the light. Then we will enforce compliance. Our fleets are already moving to your borders. We have the power to blockade every human world. We can cut off your supply lines. We can make it impossible for you to leave your own systems. Submit peacefully, or we will force you to submit. Choose. Hannah stared up at the alien beings surrounding her. For a moment, she felt the weight of human history on her shoulders. How many times had people been told to submit or die? How many times had they been told they were too young, too primitive, too dangerous to make their own choices? I need to consult with my government, Hannah said finally. You have 30 days, Crystallith reminded her. Not one day more. Back on Earth, Admiral Sun Cho sat in a secure conference room deep underground. Around the table sat the people who would decide humanity's fate. Dr. Yuna Lee, the brilliant physicist who had been working on classified projects for a decade. Colonel Jin Park, who commanded the Experimental Weapons Division. General Minho Choi, who oversaw all military operations. Director Yoon-bi Song, head of Earth Intelligence. And a dozen others, each an expert in their field. Options, Sung Cho said simply. We cannot win a direct fight, General Choi said. Their fleet outnumbers ours 20-1. Their technology is more advanced. If we fight, we lose. We could submit, Director Song said quietly. Accept their terms. Hope that in time they ease restrictions. They won't, Dr. Yuna Lee said. She looked tired, like she had not slept in days. I have studied the Council for years. They do not change. They do not compromise. Once they control a species, that species stays controlled forever. Then what do you suggest? Sung Cho asked. Yuna looked around the table, meeting each person's eyes. I suggest we show them something they have never seen before. Something they cannot predict or prepare for. Project Cascade? Colonel Jin Park asked. Yuna nodded. It is ready. Or at least ready enough. Sung Cho leaned back in his chair. Project Cascade. The secret program that had consumed billions in funding and the work of Earth's best scientists. Nobody outside this room knew what it could do. The Council certainly did not know. If we activate Cascade, there is no going back, Sung Cho said. The Council will consider it an act of war. They already consider our existence a threat, Yuna said. We are just choosing how to respond to that threat. Sung Cho looked at each person at the table. Then he stood up. Begin preparations. We have 30 days. Let us use them well. And let us show the Galactic Council that humanity does not bow to anyone. In orbit around Earth, Captain Dae Kim received new orders. He read them twice, then looked at his crew. They watched him, waiting for his command. Tell all ships to prepare for Operation Exodus, they said. We are evacuating the border colonies. Every human ship is to fall back to defensive positions. Make it look like we are retreating. His second officer looked confused. Are we retreating, sir? Day smiled grimly. No, we are getting ready to give the Council an answer they will never forget. The Council enforcement fleets arrived at the human border systems exactly on schedule. They moved with the precision of a machine, each ship in perfect formation. The fleet commanders expected to find panicked human colonies, desperate diplomats, and ships trying to flee. Instead, they found nothing. Every human colony had been evacuated. The stations were empty. The orbital platforms had been shut down. Even the satellites had been removed. It was as if humans had simply vanished from space. The only things left behind were automated messages playing on repeat. This system is temporarily closed. Please stand by. On the Council command ship, Fleet Commander Verith studied the reports with growing confusion. The Velthier had lived for 3,000 years and commanded fleets for most of that time. It had seen many species surrender, many species fight, and a few species attempt to run. But it had never seen anything like this. What are the humans doing? Verith asked its tactical officer. Unknown, Commander. All human vessels have withdrawn to the inner systems. They appear to be gathering near their homeworld. They are running home to hide, Verith decided. They know they cannot win, so they retreat to Earth and hope we will be merciful. It is what young species always do. The tactical officer was not so sure, but it said nothing. In the Council military, you did not question your superiors. Far from the Council fleets, Commander Tai Huang piloted his ship through the wreckage of an old battle. The Whisper was a stealth vessel, designed to be invisible to most sensors. It was small, fast, and perfect for the mission Tai had been given. He approached a damaged relay station that floated among the debris. The station looked abandoned, but Tai knew better. He had helped build it 5 years ago, part of a secret network that Earth intelligence had been constructing. The Council did not know these relays existed. They thought humans were simple and new to space. They did not realize that humans had been studying them since the first contact. Tai docked with the relay and uploaded the data package he carried. Information about Council fleet movements, command codes, tactical patterns, everything that human intelligence had gathered over the past 40 years. This data would be transmitted to every human ship, giving them advantages the Council could not imagine. Upload complete, his computer announced. Good, Tai said. He undocked and moved toward the next relay. He had 20 more to visit before his mission was complete. It was dangerous work. If the Council caught him, they would learn about the entire network. But Tai had volunteered for this job. Someone had to do it. As he traveled, Tai thought about his family back on Earth. His daughter was only 5 years old. She had asked him why the aliens were angry at humans. Tai had tried to explain, but how do you tell a child that some people fear those who are different? How do you explain that power makes people want to keep their power, no matter who it hurts? Deep below the surface of Titan, one of Saturn's moons, Dr. Yuna Lee stood in the control center of Project Cascade. The facility had taken 10 years to build and had cost more money than any other project in human history. Hundreds of scientists worked here, developing technology that the Council thought was impossible. The key was quantum entanglement. The Council understood quantum physics, of course, but they used it in predictable, standardized ways. Their technology was powerful, but also rigid. Every Council ship used the same operating systems, the same communication protocols, and the same artificial intelligence networks. They had built their entire civilization on interconnected systems that worked perfectly together. That was their weakness. Yuna had discovered that by creating massive quantum fields, she could interfere with the Council's technology. Not destroy it, but make it unreliable. Targeting computers would miscalculate. Navigation systems would give false readings. Communication networks would scramble. The more advanced and interconnected the technology, the more vulnerable it was. Dr. Lee, one of her assistants, called out, "We are ready for the final test." Yuna walked to the main console. On the screen, she could see the quantum generators positioned throughout the solar system. 50 massive devices, each one hidden on a different moon or asteroid. Together, they could create a field that would cover the entire system. "Begin the test," Una ordered. The generators activated. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then every screen in the control room flickered. The lights dimmed. The computer systems struggled to maintain stability. "It is working," the assistant said, excited. "The field is interfering with our own technology." "Shut it down," Una ordered. The test had proven what she needed to know. Cascade could work, but it was dangerous. Once activated, it would affect everyone in the field, human and alien alike. Human ships would struggle just like council ships. The difference was that humans had been training for months to operate without computer assistance. Their pilots had learned to fly manually. Their gunners had practiced with basic targeting. Their crews knew how to work when technology failed. The council had no such training. They relied completely on their advanced systems. Without those systems, their mighty fleets would be helpless. On Velthos, the council homeworld, Ambassador Hannah Park remained in her diplomatic quarters. Everyone had expected her to evacuate with the other humans, but she had refused to leave. She sent a message to Earth Command explaining her decision. Someone needs to be here to watch them. The Velthier assigned to monitor her did not understand why she stayed. From their perspective, Hannah was simply a prisoner waiting for her species to surrender. But Hannah was not just sitting in her room. She was listening, watching, and learning. The diplomatic quarter had windows that overlooked a council military complex. Hannah spent hours watching the activity below, noting patterns and procedures. She observed how the guards changed shifts, how supply ships came and went, and how the council's leaders moved through the facility. All of this information was valuable. She also monitored council communications. The diplomatic network was supposed to be secure, but human encryption experts had found ways to access it years ago. Hannah read internal memos, military reports, and private conversations between council members. What she learned was fascinating and frightening. The council was not as unified as they appeared. Several species disagreed with the decision to force humanity into submission. Some thought the mandate was too harsh. Others worried about the cost of enforcement. A few even admired human achievements and wanted to learn from them rather than control them. But the elder species, particularly the Velthier, dominated the council. They had been in power for so long that they could not imagine any other way. The idea that humans might deserve equality was offensive to them. They saw themselves as parents and humans as children who needed discipline. Hannah compiled all of this information into detailed reports. She encrypted them and sent them through secret channels back to Earth. Each report ended with the same assessment. The council fears us not because we are dangerous, but because we are different. They have built their power on controlling others. We threaten that power simply by existing. Back in Earth's solar system, the final preparations were being made. Every colony had been evacuated to Earth or the Moon. Every ship had been repositioned. Every soldier had been briefed on the plan. Now they waited. Admiral Sung Cho stood in the command center, watching the displays that showed council fleets moving closer to Earth. In 3 days, those fleets would arrive. They expected to find a defeated species ready to surrender. Instead, they would find something else entirely. "Sir," one of the officers reported, "we are receiving transmissions from our colonies. The council is broadcasting demands for our surrender." "Ignore them," Sung Cho said. "We will give our answer when they arrive." Colonel Jin Park entered the command center carrying a datapad. "Admiral, the weapon systems are ready. All experimental platforms are operational." Sung Cho nodded. The council had monitored human weapons development, but they had only seen what humans wanted them to see: conventional missiles, basic railguns, and standard energy weapons. They had not seen the kinetic accelerators that Colonel Jin had been developing. They had not seen the drone swarms that could operate independently. They had not seen the gravitational mines that could trap entire fleets. How are the pilots? Sung Cho asked. Ready, sir. Captain Swa Kong reports that all fighter squadrons have completed their training. They can operate effectively, even with limited computer support. Sung Cho allowed himself a small smile. Swa Kong was one of the best pilots in the fleet. If anyone could lead fighters against impossible odds, it was her. The Admiral looked at the main display, which showed a countdown timer. 72 hours until the Council fleet arrived. 72 hours until humanity gave their answer. Send a message to all human colonies, all ships, and all military units, Sung Cho ordered. Broadcast it on every frequency, including ones the Council can intercept. The communication officer prepared to transmit. What should the message say, sir? Sung Cho thought for a moment, then spoke carefully. You wanted our answer. You are about to get it. The message went out across human space. On every colony, on every ship, on every station, humans heard those words and understood. The time for talking was over. The time for submission was over. Now came the time to show the galaxy what humanity was truly capable of. In her quarters on Velthos, Ambassador Hannah Park received the message and smiled. She knew what was coming. The Council thought they were about to witness humanity's defeat. Instead, they were about to witness something that would change the galaxy forever. The Council enforcement fleet entered the Sol system with absolute confidence. 300 warships, each one larger and more powerful than anything humanity had ever built. They moved in perfect formation, their shields glowing with energy, their weapons charged and ready. Fleet Commander Verith stood on the bridge of the flagship and watched Earth grow larger on the display screen. Beautiful planet, Verith said to its crew. It is unfortunate that its people could not accept wisdom, but they will learn. After today, humanity will understand its place in the galaxy. The tactical officer worked at its station, analyzing the human defenses. Commander, we are detecting approximately 80 human vessels in defensive positions around Earth. They are significantly outnumbered. As expected, Verith said. They know they cannot win. This will be over quickly. Open a channel to Earth Command. The channel opened. On the screen appeared Admiral Sung Cho, wearing the blue uniform of the Earth Defense Force. He looked calm, almost relaxed. This surprised Verith. Defeated species usually looked frightened. Admiral Sung Cho, Verith said formally, you have refused to comply with the Council mandate. Your time has expired. Surrender now, and we will be merciful. Fight, and we will destroy your fleet and occupy your world. Choose. Sung Cho smiled slightly. We have chosen. You wanted humanity's answer. Here it is. Before Verith could respond, the channel closed. The fleet commander felt a moment of irritation. Humans were so dramatic. Very well. If they wanted to make this difficult, the Council would teach them a harsh lesson. All ships move to attack formation, Verith ordered. Prepare to. The lights on the bridge flickered. The displays went dark for a moment, then came back on showing gibberish. The tactical officer looked confused. Commander, we are experiencing system malfunctions. The navigation computer is providing incorrect data. Weapons targeting has gone offline. Communication between ships is breaking down. What? Verith demanded. That is impossible. Run diagnostics immediately. But diagnostics could not run. The computer systems kept crashing and restarting. All across the Council fleet, the same thing was happening. Ships lost navigation. Targeting computers gave random numbers. The artificial intelligence systems that controlled most fleet operations simply stopped working properly. Deep below Titan's surface, Dr. Yuna Lee watched her screens as Project Cascade activated across the solar system. 50 quantum generators created overlapping fields that interfered with advanced technology. The fields were invisible, undetectable by normal sensors, and devastatingly effective. "Cascade is at full power," her assistant reported. "The field is covering the entire inner system. Monitor our own systems carefully," Una warned. "We will feel the effects too, but we are prepared for it." She was right. Human ships also experienced problems. Computers flickered and struggled. Advanced systems became unreliable. But unlike the Council ships, human vessels had backup systems. More importantly, human crews had trained for months to operate without technology. Pilots flew manually. Gunners used basic optical sights. Crews coordinated through simple radio communication. On the bridge of the UEDF Indomitable, Captain Dae Kim watched as the Council fleet fell into chaos. Ships drifted out of formation. Some collided with each other as their navigation failed. Others fired weapons randomly, hitting their own allies. The perfect military machine had become a confused mob. "All ships, attack formation Beta," Day ordered into his radio. "Manual targeting only. Fighter squadrons, you are clear to engage." Captain Swa Kong sat in the cockpit of her fighter, hands on the physical controls. Around her, 30 other fighters formed up in a loose formation. The Council would expect them to fly in predictable patterns, controlled by computers. Instead, they would fly like birds, reacting to each other through instinct and training. "Falcons, this is Falcon Leader," Swa said over the radio. "Stay close, watch each other, and trust your eyes. Let us show them what human pilots can do." The fighters dove toward the Council fleet. The huge warships tried to target them, but their targeting computers kept malfunctioning. Shots went wide. Missiles failed to track. Defense systems activated at random. SUA wove between two Council cruisers, her fighter moving in ways that no computer would predict. She targeted a ship's engine port and fired a burst from her kinetic cannon. The solid projectiles punched through the shields, which had not adjusted properly due to computer failures. The engine exploded in a flash of light. All around the battlefield, the same scene repeated. Human fighters struck fast and unpredictable. Larger human ships used weapons the Council had never seen before. Colonel Jin Park's kinetic accelerators launched solid projectiles at incredible speeds. Without working targeting computers, the Council ships could not calculate where these projectiles would hit. Shield systems failed to compensate. The gravitational mines that Admiral Soong Cho had positioned created fields that trapped Council ships. Unable to navigate properly, the ships could not escape. They hung in space, helpless targets for human weapons. But the real weapon was not technology. It was unpredictability. The Council had fought wars for millennia, but they always fought the same way. Ships in formation, coordinated by computers, following tactical programs developed over thousands of years. Humans did not follow any program. They adapted, improvised, and reacted. They fought like animals, not machines. On the Council flagship, Fleet Commander Vareth watched in horror as the fleet fell apart. More than 50 ships had been destroyed or disabled. Hundreds more were damaged and confused. This was not supposed to happen. The Council was superior. The Council always won. "Retreat," Vareth ordered. "All ships retreat from the system immediately." But the order could not be properly transmitted. The communication systems were unreliable. Some ships received the order and began to withdraw. Others never got the message and continued fighting. The fleet had lost all coordination. Vareth made a decision. The flagship would withdraw, and hopefully other ships would follow. It was a humiliating defeat, but staying would only result in total destruction. The flagship's engines powered up and the massive ship turned away from Earth. Captain Dae Kim watched the Council flagship retreat. He could order his ships to pursue, to destroy the fleeing enemy. But he did not. Earth had made its point. There was no need for unnecessary killing. All ships hold position, Dae ordered. Let them go. We have won. From the observation deck of a Council space station near Velthos, Ambassador Hannah Park had watched the entire battle through a telescope. As soon as the fighting began, she had started broadcasting. Not to the Council leadership, but to everyone. Every species, every colony, every world that could receive her signal. People of the galaxy, Hannah said into the camera. For millennia, the Council has told you they rule for your benefit. They claim their control keeps the peace. They say younger species need their guidance. But let me show you the truth. She played recordings she had copied from Council systems. Private conversations between Council members discussing how to suppress younger species. Documents showing how the Council hoarded resources and technology. Evidence that the Council had destroyed civilizations that refused to submit. The Council does not fear humanity because we are dangerous, Hannah continued. They fear us because we refuse to accept their authority. They fear us because we prove that their way is not the only way. Today, Earth fought the Council to a standstill. We did not do this with superior numbers or advanced technology. We did it with determination, creativity, and the refusal to surrender our freedom. Her broadcast reached billions of beings across thousands of worlds. Many were species that the Council controlled, species that had never been allowed to grow or develop on their own. They watched as tiny Earth defied the mighty Council and won. They watched, and they began to think dangerous thoughts. What if we could do the same? On Earth, celebrations erupted. People poured into the streets, cheering and crying with relief. They had faced the greatest power in the galaxy and survived. More than survived. They had won. But in the command center, Admiral Sung Cho did not celebrate. He knew this was not over. The Council would not accept this defeat. They would regroup, develop new tactics, and return. The war had just begun. Get me a status report on all ships, Sung Cho ordered. I want damage assessments, casualty figures, and ammunition counts. Also, contact Dr. Yuna Lee. Ask her how long we can maintain the cascade field. Colonel Jin Park approached the Admiral. Sir, we lost 12 ships and approximately 400 personnel. Many more are wounded. But we destroyed or disabled over 70 Council vessels. By any measure, this is a decisive victory. Tactically, yes, Sung Cho agreed. But strategically, we have started something that will change everything. The Council cannot allow this defeat to stand. Other species will be watching. If we can defy them, others will try as well. Is that not a good thing? Jin asked. Sung Cho looked at the displays showing the retreating Council fleet. It depends on what comes next. We have shattered their illusion of invincibility. Now we will see what they do when they are truly afraid. Commander Tae Huang's stealth ship moved through the debris field left by the battle. He was collecting data, recording evidence, and retrieving the bodies of fallen pilots. It was grim work, but necessary. Each person who died today deserved to be brought home. As he worked, Tae thought about what this victory meant. His daughter would grow up in a galaxy where humans were not controlled by others. She would have opportunities that might not have existed if Earth had surrendered. That was worth fighting for. That was worth the sacrifice. Dr. Yuna Lee received Admiral Sung Cho's message and frowned. She ran calculations on her computer, checking and rechecking the numbers. Finally, she sent her response. The cascade field can remain active for approximately 60 more hours at full power. After that, we will need to shut down the generators for maintenance and recharging. This will take at least 3 days. During that time, We will be vulnerable if the Council returns. It was the problem with any weapon. You could not keep it activated forever. Eventually, you had to rest. And that was when your enemy might strike. But for now, Earth was safe. The Sol system was secure. Humanity had proven that they could not be forced to submit. The question now was what would happen next. Captain Swa Kong landed her fighter back on the carrier deck. Her hands were shaking from adrenaline. She had survived, but 8 of her pilots had not. She would have to write letters to their families, explaining how they died bravely defending Earth. As she climbed out of her cockpit, the deck crew cheered. They had won. Against all odds, humanity had fought the Galactic Council and won. Swa allowed herself to smile. They had proven something important today. They had proven that courage and determination could overcome superior force. They had proven that humans would never stop fighting for their freedom. The news of Earth's victory spread across the galaxy faster than anyone expected. Within days, every species knew what had happened. A young race, barely 2 centuries into space travel, had defeated the mighty Galactic Council. The story was told and retold, growing with each telling. Some versions were accurate. Others were exaggerated. But all of them carried the same message. The Council could be beaten. On the world of Korathi Prime, something unprecedented happened. The Korathi were a hive species, millions of individual drones controlled by a single collective mind. For thousands of years, they had operated as one unified consciousness. But after witnessing Earth's victory, individual drones began to think separately. They began to question. They began to wonder if they wanted to remain part of the hive. Within a week, the Korathi collective fractured into 12 separate groups. Each group claimed independence and demanded recognition as distinct entities. The Council, which had always dealt with one Korathi representative, suddenly faced 12 different voices, all disagreeing with each other. The ancient Zai line, floating in their sealed chambers, made an announcement that shocked everyone. They declared they were withdrawing from the Council completely. After millions of years of participation, they simply left. Their official statement was brief. We have seen what we needed to see. The old order is ending. We choose to observe rather than participate in what comes next. 4 other species within the Council declared independence within the first month. They cited Earth's resistance as proof that the Council's authority was not absolute. If humans could maintain their sovereignty, why could they not do the same? On Convergence Point, the massive neutral station with the Council net, emergency sessions turned into shouting matches. Ambassador Hannah Park had returned from Velthos and watched from the observation gallery as the Council tore itself apart. Crystallith, the Council elder, tried to maintain order but failed. The Velthir demanded immediate retaliation against Earth. They wanted to assemble an even larger fleet and crush humanity completely. But other species refused to support this plan. We have lost 70 ships and thousands of crew, one ambassador argued. How many more will we lose if we attack again? And what if we lose again? We will look even weaker. Then what do you suggest? Crystallith demanded. We allow this insult to stand? We permit a primitive species to defy us? Perhaps they are not so primitive, another voice said. This came from the Tauren, a species that had joined the Council only 5,000 years ago. They were still considered young by Council standards. Perhaps we have been wrong to judge advancement purely by age. The humans defeated us through innovation and adaptability. These are valuable traits. The chamber erupted in argument. Half the Council wanted war. The other half wanted negotiation. A few quietly wondered if the entire Council structure needed to change. The unity that had kept the Council powerful for millennia was crumbling. Commander Te Huang led a small diplomatic ship to the Tauren homeworld. He carried a message from Admiral Sun Shun Shu and a gift from Earth. The gift was simple: a complete copy of human technology, freely given with no restrictions. Earth was offering what the Council never had: genuine cooperation. The Tauran leadership welcomed Tay warmly. They asked hundreds of questions about Earth, about human culture, about how humanity had developed so quickly. Tay answered honestly, explaining both human achievements and human mistakes. "We are not perfect," Tay admitted. "We have fought terrible wars among ourselves. We have made many errors, but we have learned from those errors. That is what makes us strong. We adapt." The Tauran leader, an elderly being named Korath, listened carefully. "The Council believes that age equals wisdom, but you have shown that youth can bring fresh perspectives. We would like to establish formal relations with Earth, independent of the Council." "Earth would be honored," Tay replied. Similar conversations were happening across the galaxy. Human diplomats visited dozens of worlds, offering friendship, trade, and knowledge. They did not demand submission. They did not impose conditions. They simply offered partnership to anyone who wanted to adopt Dr. Yuna. Lee found herself hosting scientists from 20 different species in her facility on Titan. They came to learn about Project Cascade and human quantum research. Yuna shared everything freely. Some of her colleagues worried this would eliminate Earth's military advantage, but Yuna disagreed. "Knowledge is not a weapon that dulls with sharing," she explained. "The more minds working on these problems, the faster we all advance. Besides, if we hoard our knowledge like the Council did, we become just like them." The visiting scientists were amazed by human generosity. In Council space, advanced technology was carefully controlled. Only approved species received certain knowledge. The Council maintained power partly through keeping others dependent. One scientist, a young being named Revik from a species called the Xanthari, spoke with Yuna privately. "My people have been part of the Council for 3,000 years. In all that time, we have been restricted to basic technology. The Council said we were not ready for more. But now I see human technology that far exceeds what we were allowed to develop. We were not unready. We were simply kept weak." Yuna felt sadness for the Xanthari and others like them. How much had the galaxy lost because the Council suppressed innovation? How many brilliant minds had been prevented from reaching their potential? Back on Earth, Colonel Jin Park faced a different problem. Some human leaders wanted to press Earth's advantage. They argued that humanity should establish dominance while the Council was weak. They wanted to build more weapons, prepare for conquest, and become the new power in the galaxy. Jin argued strongly against this in meetings with the planetary leadership. "We did not fight for the right to dominate others. We fought for the right to be free. If we become conquerors, we become exactly what the Council was. We lose what makes us human." The debates were intense, but ultimately the voices calling for restraint won. Earth would defend itself and support others seeking freedom, but it would not seek to rule the galaxy. Admiral Sun Cho made this policy official in a speech broadcast across human space. "We have shown that we cannot be forced to submit," Sun Cho said. "Now we must show that we can be trusted as partners, not feared as tyrants. Our strength is in our values, not just our weapons." Ambassador Hannah Park worked with representatives from newly independent species to draft a new framework for cooperation. They called it the Coalition Charter. The document was simple but revolutionary. It declared that every species had the right to self-governance, that technology and knowledge should be shared freely, and that disputes should be resolved through negotiation rather than force. Most importantly, the Charter stated that no species could claim authority over another based solely on age or power. All members of the coalition would be equal partners, regardless of how long they had been in space. 40 species signed the Charter within the first 2 months. More expressed interest. The coalition was not trying to replace the council. It was simply offering an alternative, a different way of organizing galactic civilization. The council watched these developments with growing alarm. Fleet Commander Verith, who had led the failed attack on Earth, was removed from command and exiled to a remote outpost. The Velfir leadership wanted someone to blame for the disaster, and Verith became the scapegoat. But removing one commander did not solve the council's problems. Their authority was crumbling. Species that had been loyal for millennia were questioning their leadership. The council's fleets, once feared across the galaxy, were viewed as vulnerable after Earth's victory. Crystallith called a private meeting with the other elder species. They met in a secure chamber, away from the eyes of younger species. The mood was grim. "We are losing control," Crystallith stated flatly. "If we do not act decisively, the council will collapse entirely. What do you propose?" Asked an elder from the Xi line, one of the few who had not withdrawn from the council. "We cannot defeat Earth militarily. We tried and failed. Attacking again would only weaken us further. Then we must divide them," another elder suggested. "Turn the humans against the other species. Create distrust. Show that their coalition is unstable." But Crystallith shook its crystalline head. "That will not work. The humans are offering genuine cooperation. We offered control. Their way is more appealing to younger species who are tired of our restrictions." The meeting continued for hours, but no good solutions emerged. The council was trapped. They could not defeat Earth by force. They could not compete with Earth's offer of free cooperation. And they could not change their own system without admitting that their millennia of rule had been wrong. On Earth, Captain Day Kim stood on a balcony overlooking the city where he had grown up. The streets below were busy with normal life. People worked, children played, couples walked together. They did not look like warriors who had defied a galactic empire. They just looked like people living their lives. That was what Earth had fought for, they realized. Not glory or conquest, just the simple right to live freely, to grow and develop without someone else controlling their fate. It seemed like such a basic desire, but to the council, it had been revolutionary. Daz's communication device chimed. A message from Admiral Soon Sho. "Captain, I need you to command a mission. We are sending ships to support the Zenthari. The council is threatening them for signing the coalition charter. We will not stand by and let them be punished for choosing freedom." Day smiled. Earth was not just defending itself anymore. It was defending the principle that no one should be forced to submit. That was worth fighting for. Captain Sua Kong trained new pilots on the same principles that had won the battle for Earth. Adaptability, quick thinking, trusting your instincts over computers. But she also taught them something more important, knowing when not to fight. Power is not just about winning battles, Swa told her students. It is about knowing what battles are worth fighting. We fought the council because we had no choice. But we do not seek out conflict. We seek out understanding. Her students listened carefully. They were young, eager, and had grown up hearing stories about Earth's great victory. But Swa wanted them to understand that war should always be the last option, not the first. Across the galaxy, the fracture continued. Every week brought news of another species declaring independence or joining the coalition. The council still existed, still controlled hundreds of worlds, but its grip was loosening. The old order was dying, and something new was being born. It was messy, uncertain, and sometimes frightening. But it was also filled with possibility. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy was changing in fundamental ways. And humanity, the young species that everyone had underestimated, was at the center of that change, not because they sought to dominate, but because they had shown that there was another way. A way based on cooperation rather than control. A way based on mutual respect rather than imposed hierarchy. A way that valued innovation over tradition and freedom over stability. The Galactic Council had asserted control. Earth's answer had indeed shocked every system. But the shock was not from Earth's military might. It was from Earth's vision of what the galaxy could become. 3 years had passed since the battle that changed everything. Captain Swa Kong walked through the corridors of the Unity, a ship unlike any other in the galaxy. The crew was mixed, humans and aliens working side by side. In the mess hall, a Tauran engineer shared a meal with a human navigator. In the engine room, a Zenthari mechanic trained a human apprentice. This was the future that Earth had fought for. SUA stopped at an observation window and looked out at the stars. The Unity was on a mission to explore a region of space that the Council had declared forbidden for thousands of years. Nobody knew what was out there. The Council had simply marked it as off-limits and refused to explain why. Now, with the Council's power broken, the Coalition wanted answers. "Captain Kong," a voice said behind her. She turned to see Revik, the Zenthari scientist who now served as the ship's chief researcher. "We are approaching the boundary of the Forbidden Zone." "All systems are ready?" "Good," Swa said. "Let us see what the Council did not want us to find." The ship crossed into the Forbidden Zone without incident. Sensors swept the area, gathering data. What they found surprised everyone. The region was rich in resources, filled with valuable minerals and rare elements. There was no danger here, no mysterious threat. The Council had simply claimed this area for themselves and kept everyone else away. "They lied," Revik said quietly. "For thousands of years, they told us this area was dangerous. But they were just hoarding resources." Swa nodded. "That is why they fell. They built their power on secrets and lies. Eventually, people discover the truth." Far across the galaxy on Titan, Dr. Yuna Lee stood in a facility that had grown tenfold since the war. Scientists from 60 different species worked here now, developing technology that benefited everyone. The breakthroughs they had achieved in 3 years exceeded what the Council had accomplished in centuries. Yuna was working on a new project, something that excited her more than weapons ever had. She was developing a quantum communication network that would allow instant communication across the entire galaxy. No more delays. No more isolation. Every world could talk to every other world in real time. Dr. Lee, one of her colleagues, called out. It was a human woman named Minji Park, one of the brightest young scientists on the team. "We have completed the first test of the network. It worked perfectly. We sent a message to the Tauran homeworld and received a response instantly." Yuna felt tears in her eyes. This was what science should be. Not weapons to destroy, but tools to connect. Not technology to control, but knowledge to share. "Begin Phase 2, Yuna ordered. "Let us link every Coalition world to the network, and make sure the specifications are published openly. Anyone who wants to join the network can do so." On Earth, Admiral Sung Cho had retired from military service. He now served as an advisor to the Coalition Assembly, helping to resolve disputes and guide policy. The transition from warrior to diplomat had been difficult, but Sung Cho believed it was necessary. The galaxy needed builders now, not fighters. He sat in his garden, tending to the plants he had grown. It was peaceful work, far different from commanding fleets. But Sung Cho had learned that peace required constant cultivation, just like a garden. You could not simply plant seeds and walk away. You had to nurture them, protect them from weeds, and patiently wait for growth. His communication device chimed. A message from General Jin Park, who now commanded the Coalition Defense Initiative. "Admiral, we have a situation. The Council is massing ships near the border of Coalition space. It looks like they might be planning an attack." Sung Cho sighed. 3 years of peace, but the council still had not learned. What do you recommend, General? We could strike first, destroy their fleet before they move, Jin replied. We have the capability, but should we? Sung Cho asked. If we attack first, we become the aggressors. We prove the council's claims that we are dangerous. There was silence for a moment. Then Jin spoke again. You are right. What should we do? Prepare our defenses, Sung Cho said, but also send a message to the council. Invite them to negotiations. Show them that we prefer peace, but are ready for war if necessary. Give them a choice. The message was sent. For 2 days, the council fleet remained at the border, weapons charged and shields raised. Then, slowly, the ships began to withdraw. A response came from Crystallith. We agreed to negotiations. But the council will never accept the coalition as equals. Sung Cho smiled. They do not need to accept it. It already exists. They can either adapt to the new reality or become irrelevant. The choice is theirs. Ambassador Hana Park stood before the coalition assembly, addressing representatives from over 100 species. The assembly met on a new station, built jointly by coalition members. Unlike the council chambers, this was a circle of equals. Every species had one vote, regardless of age or power. Today, we vote on the Universal Rights Declaration, Hana announced. This document establishes fundamental rights that apply to all sentient beings, regardless of species, age, or origin. No one can be enslaved. No one can be forced to surrender their autonomy. No one can be denied access to knowledge or opportunity based on arbitrary restrictions. The vote was unanimous. Every representative raised their hand in support. It was a historic moment, one that would have been impossible just a few years ago. After the vote, a young Korathi approached Hana. The drone had separated from the Hive Collective and now operated as an individual. Ambassador Park, I want to thank you. Before Earth's victory, I did not even know I could think for myself. I was just part of the collective. Now I am me. I have my own thoughts, my own dreams. You gave me freedom. Hannah felt emotion rise in her throat. We did not give you freedom. We just showed you that it was possible. You chose freedom for yourself. Commander Te Huang returned to Earth after a long diplomatic mission. His daughter was 8 years old now, and she barely remembered the war. To her, the galaxy had always been a place of cooperation and friendship. She had friends from 6 different species and spoke 3 alien languages in addition to Korean and English. Papa, she asked him one evening, why did the council try to control everyone? Tay thought carefully about his answer. Because they were afraid. Fear makes people want to control things. They thought that by controlling everything, they could keep themselves safe. But control is not the same as safety. Real safety comes from trust and cooperation. Like in my class? His daughter asked. We all work together on projects. Exactly like that, Kay said, smiling. His daughter understood something that the council had never learned. Power shared was stronger than power hoarded. Captain Dae Kim commanded a small fleet that patrolled coalition space, protecting trade routes and responding to emergencies. It was less exciting than fighting the council, but Dae found it more fulfilling. He was helping to build something instead of destroying something. One day, his fleet received a distress call from a council vessel. Pirates had attacked it, and the ship was badly damaged. Dae faced a choice. The council was technically still an enemy. He could ignore the call, or even let the ship be destroyed, but that was not what the coalition stood for. All ships move to intercept, Dae ordered. We have people in distress. It does not matter whose flag they fly. The fleet drove off the pirates and rescued the council crew. The council captain was shocked that humans would help them. Why? He asked Day. We are enemies. You are not our enemy, Day replied. You are just people who need help. That is enough. The story of that rescue spread through council space. Some council members began to question their leadership's hostile stance toward the coalition. If humans would save council lives, perhaps they were not the threat they had been told about. Dr. Yuna Lee received an unexpected visitor. Crystallith, the council elder, came to Titan in secret. The ancient Valfir looked diminished somehow, less imposing than it had been 3 years ago. Dr. Lee, Crystallith said, I have come to ask for your help. Why would I help the council? Yuna asked. You tried to destroy everything we built. Because the galaxy needs you, Crystallith replied. We have detected something approaching from beyond known space. A threat that makes our past conflicts seem insignificant. I cannot fight this alone. The council cannot fight this alone. We need the coalition. We need your innovation and adaptability. Yuna studied the alien carefully. This could be a trick, an attempt to regain lost power. But Crystallith seemed genuine. More than that, it seemed frightened. What kind of threat? Yuna asked. Crystallith showed her data. What Yuna saw made her blood run cold. Something vast was moving toward the galaxy, something that had destroyed civilizations before. The Council had hidden this information for years, hoping they could deal with it themselves. But they could not. I will present this to the Coalition Assembly, Yuna said. We will decide together how to respond. That is how we do things now. Even after everything we did to you? Crystallith asked. Especially after everything you did, Yuna replied. You taught us what not to become. Now maybe we can teach you a better way. The Coalition Assembly met to discuss the new threat. The debate was intense. Some wanted to help the Council. Others wanted to let them face the danger alone. Ambassador Hannah Park listened to all sides before speaking. We have a choice, she said. We can be like the old Council, using this crisis to gain power over others. Or we can be something different, something better. Yes, the Council wronged us. Yes, they tried to control us. But revenge is not strength. Mercy is strength. Helping others, even those who hurt us, is strength. The vote was close, but eventually the Assembly agreed. The Coalition would help face the coming threat, not because they owed the Council anything, but because protecting life was the right thing to do. General Jin Park took command of the Joint Defense Force, combining Coalition and Council ships for the first time. The two groups did not trust each other, but they would have to learn. The approaching danger would not care about their past conflicts. Admiral Sung Cho watched the preparations from Earth. He was old now, ready to rest, but he felt hope. Humanity had started something important 3 years ago. They had shown the galaxy that there was another way to live, another way to organize civilization. Now that vision would be tested against a real threat, Captain Swa Kong sat in the captain's chair of the Unity, now part of the defense fleet. Around her, the crew worked with quiet efficiency. Humans and aliens, former enemies, all working toward a common goal. This was what Earth had fought for. Not dominance, but partnership. Not control, but cooperation. She thought about the journey from that first Council ultimatum to this moment. Earth had been given a choice: submit or be destroyed. They had found a third option: resist and then build something better. The galaxy had been shocked by Earth's military victory, but the real shock was what came after. The willingness to forgive, to help, to share, and to cooperate. Commander Tai Huang sent a message to his daughter back on Earth. I do not know when I will return. We face danger together, old enemies and new friends. But I know that whatever comes, we face it as partners. That is humanity's gift to the galaxy. Not weapons or technology, but the simple idea that we are stronger together than apart. The galaxy held its breath, waiting for the approaching threat. But it was not the same galaxy that had existed 3 years ago. The old order had fallen. A new order was being born, one based on freedom, cooperation, and mutual respect. The Galactic Council had asserted control, believing that power and age gave them the right to rule. Earth's answer had shocked every system, not with weapons alone, but with a vision of what civilization could be. Now, as the galaxy faced its greatest challenge, that vision would be tested. Whatever came next, one thing was certain. The galaxy would face it together, united not by force or fear, but by choice. And that made all the difference.